Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from Red State dated September 30th, and from the DHS it says, Biden admin guilty of revolting, targeted abuse of regular American travelers. So whenever you hear somebody on the news say like, hey, if you like what Trump's doing now, it's going to come back on you when Democrats take power, it's like, well, here's one of many examples of that shit already happening. So let's get into it. And what the heck is that picture? That dude with that mustache. All right, there's your TSA. Says the more we learn about the Biden administration, now that it is thankfully in the rearview mirror, the more it's revealed just how devious old Joe and his team were, and how they made a daily practice of trampling on the rights of Americans. They engaged in rampant censorship, hassled conservatives at every turn, and went after parents who objected to what their kids were being taught or people who expressed their opposition to abortion. On Tuesday, the Department of Homeland Security revealed yet another example of Biden Inc.'s totalitarian tendencies. They systematically targeted air travelers who were in any way linked to the events of January 6th and made the lives of anyone who didn't buy the unscientific mask mandates a living hell. It was abuse, DHS said in a social media post, and said this was a revolting, targeted abuse towards the American people courtesy of Biden and his TSA administrator, David Pekoske. DHS uncovered that the Biden administration engaged in an unprecedented campaign of putting U.S. citizens on high security, no-fly lists for nonviolent, and it goes on from there. Does it continue? For nonviolent political dissent. There we go. It's on the second part here. And it says, Biden's TSA abused their authority to punish Americans for reasons clearly unrelated to transportation security, including 280 individuals allegedly involved in the January 6th Capitol protests and 19 that merely resisted mask mandates. Says Secretary Noem is referring this case to the Justice Department and Congress for further investigation. President Trump is making good on his promise to end the weaponization of government against Americans. The era of punishing patriotism is over. As well said, DHS. As DHS further reported that the administration interfered with passengers' constitutional rights, even though they had not been charged with anything or broken the law. But there needs to be some kind of penalty. Like, can Congress get their asses to work and make some kind of penalty that the government violates your rights? Something has to happen. I mean, this is unacceptable because nothing's going to happen to any of these people. But something needs to happen so that this can't be a thing that goes on in the future. So an internal DHS investigation found that TSA leadership under then-Administrator David Pekoske systematically abused federal watch lists to harass ordinary Americans, denying boarding privileges and even placing some under surveillance. The report details how, in 2021, long after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention relaxed indoor mask requirements, TSA officials continued punishing passengers who resisted airline mask rules. These Americans were flagged, delayed, or outright banned from flights. In some cases, federal air marshals were assigned to track their movements. Jesus Christ, do you guys have anything better to do with your time and go, this guy wouldn't wear a mask, let's have somebody tail them? Like, really? Come on. This journalist Matt Taibbi testified before the Senate on Tuesday for a hearing called Examining the Weaponization of the Quiet Skies program, the shadowy program that tracked people who could potentially be a threat. Yes, because if I didn't want to wear a mask, then that must mean I'm like some sort of threat to something. So people often didn't even know they were on the list, and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem shut it down in June because it hasn't led to a single arrest. Of course it has. It never was going to. And somebody very prominent that was on the list is the next name you're going to see here. It says Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, then a private citizen, meanwhile, had been put on the list for unknown reasons. She only found out because whistleblowers from the Federal Air Marshal Service clued her in. Taibbi's Tuesday article is a must-read, and he didn't hold back his disdain for the Biden administration's abuse of power. I think he's on Substack. Let me just scroll over it here, right? Oh, Racket. That's his thing. I forgot about that. It says, before Quiet Skies was discontinued by this administration, it was a symbol of the steep decline of federal enforcement since 9/11. The government spent $200 million a year following up to 50 people a day for a program that in its history never once led to an arrest or thwarted a single criminal act. I would say that's a massive waste of money, but that's our government, just throw it around. As despite its demonstrated inutility and grave civil liberties concerns, it was refunded year after year. Not refunded as in giving money back, but funded year after year, because this is what our government does now. It gathers information on its own citizens as an end in itself. And then it's, I believe it's supposed to be an embedded tweet. I don't know why that didn't load on the page. It's like an embedded tweet, but it's Matt Taibbi linking to his testimony. It says Pekoske resigned on day one of the second Trump administration, knowing that he would get canned anyway by a president who wasn't going to put up with such shenanigans. That guy should be prosecuted. What he did was a violation of people's rights. He should be in jail, as far as I'm concerned. It says, but even as they stomped all over some citizens, guess who they didn't go after? You won't be surprised. It says, while conservatives were singled out, DHS noted the Biden-era TSA never flagged violent left-wing agitators from the 2020 George Floyd riots, despite nationwide arson, attacks on police, and destruction of property, the DHS pointed out. Some TSA officials raised objections to this double standard, warning of clear privacy violations. Their concerns were dismissed. The department has forwarded its report to the DOJ and to Congress for further investigation. Meanwhile, the legacy of Joe Biden grows more tainted by the day, if that's even possible. Every morning, I am reminded how grateful we should all be for November 5th, 2024. And, none of the pictures uploaded, even the author's picture would normally show up here. That's kind of weird, but all right, maybe my internet's just being retarded, but it happens. So, yeah, there you go. So, more crap the Biden administration was doing to infuriate you. So, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.